Welcome back to the Freelance Network Podcast, everybody. A podcast by content creators for content creators.
Today, to address the elephant in the room, we have a temporary... Wow, why can't I remember what I was going to introduce?
Co-host.
Co-host, that's the word.
Yes.
We have a new co-host today in place of Will. This is Sully. He's a familiar face on our podcast.
He's lit.
Yeah, we're going to have him on for a bunch of episodes. So today we would
All right.
test him out for some hosting.
This is your test. Don't
This
mess
is
it
my
up.
test. All right. And my second time on this pod as well. So thank
Yeah.
you guys for having me. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Always love to hop on and be a
Of
co-host.
course. And then also, so in a true Freelance Network sense, our guest today is through Sully's network, now part of ours. So Sully, why don't you introduce him?
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Mike Anderson right here,
I appreciate
social
that.
media connoisseur. I found this guy through LinkedIn, actually, of a comment that he
Yeah.
left or a comment that I left, I think, on one of his LinkedIn posts, and we had a mutual friend. And I think you messaged me and you said
Yeah.
something about like you were looking for somebody to do sales or help you with your company, kind of out of nowhere. So it was one of those just network kind of things that happens. Don't know, and then we got on a phone call and we ended up working together. So we kind of hit it off after that. And yeah, I'll let him get into the details, but that's kind of how we met.
And the
Yeah.
rest was history.
Yeah, facts, man.
So before we get into your company, though, I want to know, this is like kind of a question we've been asking everybody, which your answer was hilarious. So for you, what was like one of the first moments when you got into content creating, what any form?
Oh, okay. Actually, completely different genre, completely different niche. When I first started off making content in general, I was actually an artist. So I was making music. So, just dabbling with photo shoots and music videos and all that type of stuff. And that's kind of what got me into the creative world in general of just, wanting to be a part of creation and making something out of nothing in general. But that was actually my first step into content creation, and it was definitely not pretty when you're talking like music when you first start out. So
Oh yeah, I know all about that.
yeah,
Oh, you got to start somewhere.
exactly, 100%. And then you break down those barriers and you get into different things. So that was definitely my first step into creating any sort of content.
So then now let's talk a little bit about your company, Cover 2 Marketing. So what I want to know is, like, how did you get the idea, and then how did you make it a reality?
Okay, so with Cover 2, it was really like a lot of just indecision on what I wanted to do in general, when just talking about life in general. Like I said, I was an artist at the time when I created Cover 2, and I was freelancing, working with a couple businesses. Like I would work at a restaurant and take over their social media and stuff like that. And once I started to develop my own personal brand, I started to have other people reach out for these reasons, whether it was running their social or helping them get more exposure on social. And from there it was just kind of like a budding idea of I can actually monetize this and create something out of it. So I just kind of kept pushing and kept doing my thing, kept putting my clients first, and it just turned into a business really out of nowhere. And then that's when I kind of decided, all right, now that I have these clients, I'm going to LLC, I'm going to create a real business out of it. And that's when I really started moving forward. But it kind of just came to me more than me like creating it was almost like I had clients before I had a business, and that was just off of the social media presence and being able to, brand myself in that way.
Mhm.
So it worked out well.
So what are some of the things that you do through your company?
So we do content creation, we do photo, video. We do a lot of personal branding when it comes to helping people get more exposure on social media. We do paid social media advertising. We do really everything to do with social and getting people's brands out there. And personal branding, helping them with, like I said, content. Really just get their whole brand put together so that it excels on digital, whatever it is really. It's not just social. We do Google and stuff like that. But really my primary focus is social. That's like where I was bred and born. So from there, that's really my push.
I want to know, this is a question, I don't know if I've asked you this before, but was there a moment that you realized that you could work for yourself, or was it just kind of what you said, like it just came together, and then you said, oh, the logical next step is form a business? But was there any specific moment for you, or was it a culmination of things?
Yeah, no, so like when I was in high school, I'll like go way back. When I was in high school, I was always the type that just created the little brands and stuff like that. So when I was in high school, I had like a clothing brand and I was probably like a sophomore in high school. I started like a little clothing brand and was selling it around my school. So that the idea of working for myself was always something I wanted to do. And being honest with like my true self, I wasn't into school. I wasn't into going to class and stuff like that. So I always knew that that was going to end up being the way that I did things. And I moved out here from Massachusetts. I'm originally from Massachusetts. And when I moved out here, I started to go to school for marketing, and that's when I started to, put all the pieces together. But yeah, like I feel like I always had that idea that I wanted to work for myself, not anybody else.
It wasn't like a crazy notion. Like it was
Yeah.
always kind of in the back there.
Exactly.
You kind of knew. I think that happens with a lot of entrepreneurs too.
Yeah,
They-
and
you almost know. Like it's just.
yeah,
Yeah.
when like you're at work and like it's not like you hate your job, you just hate the fact that like you're making somebody else money. That's like how my mind always was. Like I always loved my jobs. I was never like, oh, I hate this job, I have to go here today. But I always knew that I had more potential to work for myself than I did there. So it was just like that weird kind of feeling. But it really just, as soon as I started to see like it makes sense on a monetary aspect and see like money come in, was when I was like, all right, like I can actually leave my job and make this happen. So it really took a while for that to form, but that, entrepreneurship mindset was always inside
I
me.
remember you waiting for that day.
Yeah,
And I was waiting for it too, because I was working for you at the time and we were working together, and I was like, man, this is getting real for Mike. Like
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it happened really fast. I think that when you find something that is just making sense at the time, and it's making you, from a business aspect, like if it's making you money and it's something that you can scale, you just kind of have to go all in on that, and then it provides this like safety net for you to leave your job and stuff like that. Once you have that compensation coming in on that residual basis, it's easier to step away, and that's what we were able to do. So it worked out really well.
Now, for the business aspect, did you ever take like business and marketing classes, or did that all just come naturally to you?
Yeah, so I took business classes. I took marketing classes. Like I said, like when I was in college, I just didn't enjoy the classroom aspect of it. I was never a big student, being honest with myself. But I always loved the classes, and I always loved learning about these different business practices. But I think it's so much more, and I know that this is a college podcast, so I'm not going to hint against college, but for me, it worked so much better just throwing myself into the fire.
Mhm.
When I was able to just, like almost brand myself as a business person, brand myself as a business owner, as a marketer, everything kind of came together. It's like when you throw yourself in the fire, you'll figure it out.
Mhm.
It's just getting yourself into the fire. And I think that it's just taking those risks, and that's like what really helped with me was putting myself in those positions to have to figure it out for clients, and have to deliver results and whatnot. And that's like what works out best for me. That's where I learned my best lessons, for sure, in that way.
So something I wanted to go back on was you quit like a steady job to do this. What was the hardest part about leaving that to go into this?
So, I mean, obviously, like pointing out the elephant in the conversation, like the steady check is for sure like the number one. Like knowing that, you're getting that check every 2 weeks is something it's what keeps people in that safety net, right? It's what keeps you in like, all right, I'm not gonna do that because everything's fine now. I was in a good position, before this, so that was the hardest part. But I think another hard part was that I was working at a hotel at the time, and I was a assistant manager in the housekeeping department, and I became really close with the community members, with my employees and whatnot. So that was hard to do too, just leaving. I think when you work in a job long enough, you develop these relationships, and they go a long way. So that's kind of like what happened with me. It was the checks, and then it was the team, but I knew it was the best decision for me, and that's like what it came down to. Was I just had to take this step, and I had to go in the right direction for myself.
So, to you, what would you say like your definition of success is then? Because I feel like a lot of people, while they have that point of view, haven't actually taken the step.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even though like you obviously there's still room for where you want to go and like grow your brand, like what would you say success is?
Success is like a culmination of a lot of different things. I don't see success as monetary at all. I don't see it as different I don't see it as like how everybody else perceives it. I see it as just happiness. Like if you're happy with what you're currently doing, I think that you're finding success. Whatever it is, like you can see success at any point of your life if you just look at the positive aspects of it. But I think that when it comes down to it, it's whether your goals are lining up with where you are. And, you know, like, I think people with big goals like myself, I always have crazy goals. So my goals are never aligning up with where I am. And sometimes that's a stress in my own person because it's like, you know, I want to be this and right now I'm here. But I think you just always have to stay grounded and realize what successes you currently have, what's going on, and see the light in that, and just move forward. But I think people see success as like a level, right? Like people see it as, you know, like, oh, I'm here and I need to get here. Whereas instead, you should really see success on a day-to-day basis as the things that are pointing out to you that are making you happy, and, you know, simple things like I wake up in the morning, that's a success. Like, I see success so differently than most people do. And I think that's what really pushes you further at the end of the day is being grateful for these small successes as opposed to like worrying about the big one way up there. So that's kind of how I see it. I see it in a lot of different ways, really. It's hard to put.
It's
point
rubbed
like
off on me too, I gotta say as well. Just like from us working together too. I was
Yeah.
like, he's got this different mindset. Like obviously it's in the, you could have the mindset and not have the work and then not get anything done, but you had the mindset and the work, and I was like, okay, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think mindset is like literally 90% of the battle with like any of this type of stuff, especially entrepreneurship. And like there's like a lot of people say it, there's a lot of loneliness in like entrepreneurship because you're a business owner and like you're the decision maker. Everything comes down on you. And I think that if you don't have your mind in the right position, you can fall pretty fast. Like it's easy to just kind of fall in that trap and just let everything else take over. But if you have the right mindset and you see the positives in certain situations, you'll be fine.
So talking about success now. So when you messaged us, I had to do like a double take because you have 17,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I remember texting you. I'm like, somebody with like actual followers wants to be on our podcast.
Yeah, and my follow-up question was, why?
Yeah, like straight up, why? And it's not like, okay, we're glad you're here. Like, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
But like for you, like when you see opportunities like this, like why is this worth your time?
I just think anything to get in a room and talk about stuff like this is important. Like I don't care how many listeners anything has. If it affects one person, it's worth it, you know? Like I just see the potential in getting on audio, getting on video, and speaking my message at the end of the day. That's what it is. And I don't care who it is. I'll really take any opportunity like this. It's not I don't put like a finger on anything or put any kind of standards to anything. I just think, like I said, if you're affecting one person, it's worth it. So to me, it's just like never about the stature of anybody or their situation. Like even on a lower scale, like, you know, I'll have people reach out to me for certain things, and I'm very open to helping people with anything. If they DM me about, you know, how did you do this? I'm trying to do the same thing. I won't talk bad about like my industry, but there's a lot of people that are trying to get into that space because they see it's such an emerging industry with social media marketing that I get a lot of people that reach out and say, how did you get there and stuff like that. I'm always willing to take this opportunity to just share my message in any way. So I think that's important. Like wherever you are, I don't care how big I'll get. I'll always hop on stuff like this just to spread my message in any way I can.
Well, we appreciate it. So.
Yeah, of
Absolutely.
course.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
and then speaking of that too, so like why don't you tell us some of the things that Cover 2 Marketing does, like some of your clients or like some of the things that you've done so far? Because I like the thing is like we don't really know much about social media marketing. We're still figuring it out as we go, just
Yeah.
like how to do it better. But like, what are some of the things you've worked on?
Okay, so we do a lot of personal branding in terms of getting brands more exposure on social, and we do content creation, web creation. We do pretty much anything. I don't really like to box myself into the social media marketing agency spectrum. I like to say digital marketing agency because we work with so many different standards, and social's, you know, big in our steps towards that, but we do so much more than just that. But in terms of projects, you know, we've worked with some really big personal brands out there and really big brands in general. Bang Energy being one. They're like our biggest one that we've worked with helping them get more exposure on Instagram. Instagram's like our home. That's like my main place where I work out of. But Bang Energy is a huge one. I work with an artist named Gashi, who's from New York. He's a big artist. He has like 1 million followers, so that was like a big one for us starting out. I work with a lot of influencers, like big following influencers, Caitlin Reagan, a couple other ones. But yeah, the way that we've been able to position ourselves, you know, like we have a product that people need. And at the end of the day, if you can do that as a business, you open doors that you never thought you would see open. And like Bang was just a random DM that turned into like more.
I remember that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Bang Energy
real?
just like showed up on the scene like this summer. Like I hadn't heard of it before. But one of my friends was like, "Yo, bro, before I go work out, I drink a Bang Energy drink." I'm like, "You drink a what?"
Yeah, no, I worked at a liquor store over the summer, and we started getting those in. I was like, and people would come in and ask for them. I'm like, I didn't even know they existed until this year.
Yeah.
But they
They've been
Pop up.
around though
Yeah.
for a minute.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're huge now, and they're great. They're great people. I'd like to say we got pretty lucky with that one, but it's good. We appreciate it.
Well, it's
and
the hard work as well, because I
Yeah,
can tell
yeah.
it's like you put in a lot of work.
yeah,
in these
of
things.
course.
yeah.
And yeah, like I said, you just gotta take the blessings when they come. So it's a good one.
Yeah, I have a, not to go off topic, but I have an
No, yeah.
Instagram question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about Instagram starting to take away the likes?
So okay,
I'm sure you've been asked this a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time.
We talked about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the only reason I don't like answering this question is because I feel like a like Gary V copycat. Like I feel like I'm just like a copy and paste of Gary V when I say this, but I do think it's like he just has valid points about it. I think that it's just gonna be a true test to like content. Content's gonna be the most important part of your process, and I don't really think it changes anything. Like people see it as like this groundbreaking thing. I definitely don't see it that way. I mean, I get the frustration with the larger following pages because you know you don't just get this stuff overnight. You know, like it's a lot of hard work that goes into, and people see influencers as like, you know, you have like that rolling eye perception of influencers nowadays where everybody's just kind of like, oh, influencer, but they work hard to do what they do. You know, like they're like whether it's a girl or a guy influencer, they're working hard at their craft to study the market, figure out what's working, do photo shoots and do video shoots and create this content. It takes a lot of time. It's not just an overnight
The people
thing.
that criticize it don't have the brain. They haven't seen that work.
Yeah,
they don't get it.
They don't realize how much goes into it. And I think that when it comes down to it, you're almost taking like a piece of all that work away from them. So I see their frustration in that. I definitely do, and I definitely understand about that. To me, like as a lower scale influencer, I guess, like it doesn't matter to me. You know, like I'm fine with that. I use social media to create connections. You know, create a path for me to get more jobs. Really, like that's what I use social for. So for me, it's likes are likes, and I think that it's just going to be important to create content that people like nowadays. And it won't affect, a lot of people have this wrong perception, it won't affect the algorithm. Likes are going to weigh less than everything else. Right now, like how the algorithm is going to be is saves. So when you can save a photo is going to be king. So if people are saving your photo, you're going to land on these high pages and these explore pages and whatnot. And then, you know, from there it goes like comments and shares and then likes is all the way at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with it. I think it's a cool move, and I think that, you know, not to mention the mental health aspect of it, I think it is the right way to go. I think, you know, I have a niece who like is always worried about the amount of likes she gets. It's like it's messed up, you know, like that shouldn't be how younger kids are living into this day and age. So I'm all for it, honestly. Like on my aspect, I think it's a great thing. And like when they started the testing, I was like mad at that I wasn't one of the people that, you know, I was like, I like checked it. I was like, like you should
I didn't
pick
get
me.
picked.
Yeah. Like, cause I want it. I just like that perception. Like even me, I think it's even more pressure on influencers when they get this influence and you have to create content that gets the same amount of engagement as your last post. And like me doing what I do, it's like my engagement's important, you know? So like there's some stuff that I post because I know it'll get more engagement than some other stuff. And that's messed up. I shouldn't have to worry about that. But at the same time, I know that my potential clients will perceive it a different way. So there's a lot of stuff I've been holding back from social media that I would like to deliver because of engagement. And, you know, I have this weird thing with my page that like it started off as an artist page. So I have like some music listener people, and then I have some business people. It's like, so I don't know how like switching over my content to all business based would really react in engagement way. So I've never really dabbled with that. So I'd love to just kind of like not worry about that anymore and just go into what I can. And I think that's a reality for a lot of people that have followings, is they just want to break down that barrier and worry and create what they want to do. So no, I think it'll be great. Like, long answer short, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure, like, from a business owner's perspective, because obviously, like, I don't work on social media and stuff like that, but I do know some people's careers revolve around it, so I wasn't sure if it was going to, like, affect everybody's career or just, like, the higher ones, which you answered.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really interesting perspective on it, because every person that I've asked that is like, I think this is dumb. They shouldn't have to do that. Like, if your mental health is that bad, just come off of social media altogether. And it's not that easy.
Yeah.
So
It's
And I
never
get
as
it.
simple as
It's
that.
not.
Yeah. And it's weird. Like, I'm always on almost any question you can ask me, you'll get an answer that's like both sides of the fence, because I'm one of those like empathetic people that just understands both sides all the time with any situation. And you know, like I do understand where it can hurt people, and then part of me is also like, you know, how are you gonna let that tear your personal pride down? But I think that everybody's different, and it is what it is. And I think that you know, you got to make the necessary measures, and with this day and age, it's turned into something that's so huge that you have to do something about it. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good move.
I think too, like we talked about this before, where like not like you touched on this, like the people who post content, like they're going to start posting what they like more as opposed to what gets likes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in a way we're almost going to get into a renaissance of what people are making,
Yeah.
because it's less about the numbers at the bottom of the post. It's more about what's actually happening.
Exactly.
And like I've just recently started saving posts on Instagram, like videos from Gary Vee, like not just him, but like he's a great example.
Yeah.
And he somehow gets mentioned in every single episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single
Every
If
episode.
single
there's
one.
anything with marketing content,
It's a-
Instagram, he's in there.
Yeah. But like I think that it's interesting too, because like you run a business where it's your job to make people's content get out there. So for you, like, are you excited to like this new challenge of like, so like the clients you have, like Bang or the artist or anything, like is this like a new challenge for you to figure out how to get their content out there?
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Like, I think you know, new challenges are always good, and it's always good to just challenge yourself and see where you can go with it. But I think that the most important part about it, like, I think that the perception of it, like, really affecting where it's going to go, I don't think it's going to affect where it goes. I think that it's just not displaying the number, right? The numbers are still happening. People are still liking it. People still aren't. I think it's just not being displayed. So I think when it comes down to it, it's just us worrying about quality. And that's where it comes down to. And I think it's honestly going to help me as a business, because it's not going to be about quantity and like, you know, I have this budget and I can only use this kind of videographer. It's going to be like, listen, your only choice is to do this big package that gets you this quality content and, you know, like the full shebang. Because if you go any less than that, we don't know how it's going to do. So I think that it helps us out in a way. I'm interested though. I think all this stuff is like precursor stuff. You don't know until it happens. So I think we'll see, and we'll see it if it even happens. I mean,
Yeah, because they could just
They
change their
said this
minds.
week that I
Yeah.
mean, I guess they were doing it in certain locations, but I
Yeah.
don't know anybody who got
I
their
don't
likes
know
taken
anybody
away.
either, but I know they did launch testing. Like, I saw like some stuff about it, and that some people weren't seeing it and stuff. But I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see.
really. Yeah, we'll see.
So I want to get a little bit more into like your views on the social media. So you said like Instagram is your home.
Yes.
So like for you, would you say Instagram is like the best to grow like a product or anything on, like, because I mean you've worked with it, and then also to kind of like follow up on that too, like any others that you think are good, like just your thoughts on that stuff.
Okay, yeah. So I think Instagram is definitely number one. I think right now, if you're looking to build an organic audience, it's very, very hard on Instagram right now. I think it's very hard on almost all social platforms except for the up and coming ones like the TikToks and, you know, these smaller platforms, because when something becomes oversaturated, the organic reach is very tough to deliver. So on Instagram, there's so much stuff out there that if you just start a new profile tomorrow, it takes a while to build. It's almost like person to person building instead of on social media, unless you're running ads and whatnot. But I do think Instagram's just the best place for you to develop a personal brand in all ways. You know, it's photo, video. You can do like the audio with the covers and whatnot. There's so much you can do with it. Whereas like an app like TikTok, it's just video, and I think it's great. It's emerging and it's doing great things. And I had to figure out how to study it and figure out how it's gonna work moving forward. But yeah, I think Instagram's the place where everybody should live. I mean, and no matter what you do, no matter who you are, it's something important to have if you're selling a product, selling a service, or something like this where you're delivering something for people to listen to and people to gravitate towards and understand. So Instagram is definitely the place to be if you're looking to develop a personal brand in all ways. But I think all platforms have like their different thing about them that you have to figure out and you have to understand. Like each app, it's funny to see how each app and each platform has like a different way to like really get to that audience. Whereas like Instagram's almost like it's moving away from it, but Instagram kind of started off being like flashy. Like if you were on vacation in the Maldives, or like if you had a bunch of money, like you were gonna get a lot of engagement. That's how like Instagram started off. Whereas TikTok, if you're funny, you're gonna kill it. And like if Twitter, like if you're wise with your words and you're able to kind of like give like a funny little like phrase, you're gonna do well. Everything has its own little thing, and I think it's just really interesting. But I really like focus on, I think the big ones right now are Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. I love LinkedIn now. I was never using it before, but I started to use it, and it's doing really well. So
I think LinkedIn's awesome too. Like all of our professors, like the last year, have been like, get a LinkedIn, and I haven't. But then now that I do, it's like in my rotation of like, I'm bored, let me go on social media. But now it's the one I'm starting to spend the
Me
most
too.
time on.
yeah.
Yep,
Where it's just
same.
like going through, looking at articles, and I even tweeted about it. I'm like, am I an adult now? Like LinkedIn's my favorite social media.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think it's very valuable, and I think as you get like where I am, it's just like very it's like mind freshening. I don't know if that's a word, but like
It
it
is
like
now.
freshens your mind. Like
Yeah.
like when you go through it, it's just business.
There's a lot of
content.
positivity. There's a
Yeah.
lot of business, and like that one post that you made the other day, the organic on LinkedIn is wild.
Yeah.
You don't know when it's coming, but when it does, you get like it
no.
comes. Like you just get likes and like, and also
know.
I didn't even know once you get it past, this, but like once you get past a certain amount of connections on there too, it feeds itself. People just start connecting with you,
Yeah.
and it kind of it's such a weird medium. It's like it's basically like the anti-Facebook. Like
Yeah.
you're not, you feel like you're not, you can waste time on there, but at least it's positive and it's business oriented.
Exactly.
That's a great point though, like the positivity of it, because I don't think I've ever seen a negative post on LinkedIn where like it's just people posting and be like, yo, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm doing, here's an inspirational quote, here's something. Like
Yeah.
I love that.
No, yeah.
Because like Facebook, you could go on in 2 minutes and find something.
Well, the
depressing.
Facebook algorithm too is just going to send you stuff that you want to be mad about, whereas
Or
on LinkedIn,
advertisements.
or advertisements that you don't care about. Whereas LinkedIn is like, even the advertisements are like, I might need that software. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah, no, and I think the way that they've just been able to deliver their content, like you just said, is just an interesting way. And for you to, like as an entrepreneur, where like I said earlier, your mindset's so important. A place like LinkedIn is so much more valuable to spend your time than a place like Instagram, even, which is different. Like Instagram, it's weird because I'm more business oriented, but if I go on my Instagram and go on my explore page, it's like all sports. And it's like, so at some point you're like, all right, come on, stop giving me sports. Like, give me something else.
There's more to life than sports.
Yeah, like
All social media is obsessed with sports.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I think it's a great platform, and the way that they've been able to change it from just like a, job hiring platform.
It
to
wasn't popping,
Yeah.
and now it's kind of popping.
Yeah. And
You heard it here. Sully Bob said it.
Now it's kind of popping.
Now that it's been declared.
That's the wisdom, folks.
Yeah, but there's like the way that they were able to flip the script is really interesting. Like it was just a job hiring platform, and now it's becoming a real social media platform. So
One
Kudos.
platform I wanted to ask about you too. So we use YouTube primarily to post our episodes.
okay.
So like, what do you think about YouTube? Have you worked with any clients on it? Like, what do you think of it?
So yeah, I definitely enjoy YouTube myself. I think it's a great platform. I haven't worked too much with my clients on YouTube. I've done like some YouTube advertising and stuff like that, but in terms of just like actually figuring out like a game plan for them to like develop a brand on YouTube. We haven't done much of that. I see a lot of people gravitating towards, and I think this is going to be the next step with Instagram, is I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards the Instagram TV, the IGTV. I think that the way that they just released the series is really cool. You can do like series of episodes and like all these different things, and I think that that's where, you know, everybody's going to go eventually. I think that YouTube's obviously huge. I mean, they're still going to be huge probably forever. There's so many people that have made, you know, like lifetimes of money off of YouTube. It's insane. But yeah, no, I think YouTube's an interesting platform. It's just something I haven't really dove into, honestly. Like I said, it's Instagram's like that spot where I kind of was able to develop myself in the up and coming and kind of ride that wave. So it's just about learning the other ones, but yeah.
Cool. So I was wondering too, so like within all of this, like this is like kind of a question we also ask everybody. So like for you, like what motivates you to keep going in what you're doing? Because obviously like you're 23, right?
Yeah.
So Cassie's 23, you're 21, I'm 22. There's a ton of people our age that aren't doing anything like what any of us do. So like I want to know, like for you, like when you wake up in the morning, why is it that you're ready to work and go to work as opposed to just laying around and watching Victorious on Netflix?
Yeah.
I feel attacked.
I think I think that's always an interesting question, and I feel like that's always like brought up at some point. And I think that, you know, it all comes down to like the goals that you have and the dreams that you have, and where your mindset fits in that, and what you see yourself doing in a long term, and like where you see yourself. And I'm a huge proponent of like so many different things when it comes to like manifestation, and when it comes to, you know, meditation and a lot of different things. So I'm constantly trying to perceive myself in the position that I will be in life. And I think that that's important. And once you see that vision, and once you see where you're supposed to be in something like that, it's like you can't stop until you get there. And there's a lot of different things that drive me. I think that I have like a huge chip on my shoulder from like where I'm from. I'm from a really small place in Massachusetts, Cape Cod. It's a very small island. I was a full-time, everybody thinks that nobody lives there full-time. I was living there full-time for a while. But I think that I have a lot of different things that motivate me, and it's like I love being able to perceive it as like, you know, there's so many people who never thought I would be in the position I am today. And to have that's cool, but I want them to see it in a whole different way. Like, whoa, you know, like that's always driven me. And it's not like I care about how other people perceive me, but it's just pushing myself to that vision that I see. And yeah, there's a lot of different things that motivate me, but I just think it's the vision. And if you can see yourself in a certain position and you really believe that you can be there, that's what's going to motivate you. And I don't think it's like listening to motivational stuff or anything like that. I mean, I do that, of course, to like keep my mind motivated, keep my positivity going. But I think it's just seeing the vision, seeing where you're supposed to be, and not stopping until you get there. That's like the biggest part of what I do.
I think that's awesome. And like you said just now too, it's not just listening to that stuff. Like that's supplemental, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
For sure. I
Like-
mean, there's you can't only consume. You know, you can consume. I think watching like one Gary Vee video is good for you, but watching 19 is probably not, right?
Yeah.
because you actually have to go out and do what he's saying.
Exactly.
You can't just keep watching it and share it and be like, yeah, I want to do that. Like
Yeah.
there's a point in time where like you actually have to sit down in a room and do a podcast. Shout out.
But definitely just consume all of our podcasts and our content.
Yes,
though,
but yeah,
But
Yeah.
also then go out and make yours.
Yeah, make yours after watching ours.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. No, but
That's
I
funny.
agree. Like it's easy to fall in that because you feel like after you watch something like that, like you've done so much with your day.
You're like,
It's
let's go.
Yeah, it's like you've gotten like some sort of grade for the day and you're good. But I think like I said, it's just focusing on the bigger picture and really like it's self-awareness. It's just seeing where you are in life and like what you want at the end of the day and figuring out how to get there. And there's no like road you can pave. It's just figuring it out along the way. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have nowadays, is that everybody's looking for the ticket to success or what's going to make them successful or what is success, you know? Like there's so many different questions out there, but success is looking yourself in the mirror and being happy with what you're doing and happy with where you are. And I think that that's just what it has to be. They have to stop this like perception of like the quickest ticket to $1 million. There's so many millionaires that aren't happy, you know. There's it's about just figuring out your happiness and what's gonna get you there. So I think it's a lot.
Yeah. And I just think it's cool too, because like this podcast has brought other like-minded people to us. Where like I didn't know either of you, like you didn't know them either, but like this is like a recurring thing that we all think this way, and it's cool that we're being brought together because we all do very different things. But at the end of the day, like I mean, I know where I want to be, and like you know where you want to
And
be.
we can all sit here and do this.
Like we all
Mhm.
know exactly where we want to go, and I'm not knocking the rest of people in our generation, but I feel like it's a lost thing where like they, like you said, it's that ticket. They want to get there quicker and faster, where we're putting in the work and we're
Exactly.
going to get there.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's the thing is it's all about fast nowadays, and I get it because the world is fast. You know, like the 24 hours moves really fast, and if you're not figuring out how to maximize that time, then you just feel like you're getting lost in the dust, and then all of a sudden you feel like, you know, you hit that crazy age of like, I feel like 22 is a crazy age. Like you hit 22 and you're like, whoa, like I'm supposed to be successful. Like that's not how it is at
Just
all.
wait for next year, buddy.
I'm
Yeah.
good, man.
And then you hit 23 and you're like, well, damn.
Yeah,
it
that's-
didn't work.
That's me in a
man.
couple months. Yikes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much more to it, and I think that, you know, we've developed like these mindsets from all these different things that feed us this information, and really it just comes down to, like I said, being able to look yourself in the mirror and be happy with who you are and what you're doing, and everything else figures itself out.
So then I'm curious too, because you've said like like where do you want to go with this? Because like, do you want it to be cover 2 forever? Do you want to grow it into something else? Like where is your ideal vision?
So it's funny, like I see different things when I like really look into my vision, and a lot of that is just like, you know, where I see myself in terms of like I see the cool things, right? Like I see like where I'm living, and I see like what I'm living in. It's not so much like business that controls that vision. It's just you know, where I'm putting myself in terms of happiness and like freedom. At the end of the day, that's like my huge thing. And that's like why I wanted to get out of my job so bad. Like I said, I didn't hate it, but at the same time, like being able to have the freedom of, all right, today I'm going to drive down and do a podcast, and tomorrow I'm going to, you know, go into the city and do a meeting. Like those kinds of things are just important to me, and being able to say yes at any opportunity that comes across me. And that's huge, right? Like having to say no because you work tomorrow, it stinks, you know, like, but being able to say yes because you don't work tomorrow is really cool. I mean, that's like the best feeling in the world, and being able to do that, you know, like I got reached out to from some like TV production team that wanted to do some like influencer casting stuff, like those type of situations. I wouldn't be able to say yes to them if I had a job, you know, but that freedom is important to me. But in terms of like the vision and where I see cover 2 going, cover 2 is like my tool to help people, help business owners, help personal brands get to where they want to be, and I'll live that out as long as I can. But I see so much more in like what I want to do. I see I'm a big real estate person. We work with a lot of realtors. That's like my huge push right now is working with realtors and real estate agents, and in general just the whole real estate world, whether it's brokers and a lot of different things. But that's like my huge industry I want to get into more, and really just figure it out in terms of, you know, flipping and investing and a lot of different things. So yeah, I have like a lot of different things I'm interested in, and cover 2 is kind of like my tool, like I said, to get me into a position to do a lot of other things and say yes to any opportunity that comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's awesome.
So also something that I asked Sully and he gave a fire answer for on his podcast episode. You know, you do you. But if you could go back and like tell yourself like before starting all this, like one piece of advice to like help yourself along, and this is like for the viewers out there, like a piece of advice. It doesn't have to be like a mic drop fire moment, but like something that you would have liked to know.
yeah, no, I got you. Like that, I mean, an answer jumped out right away, like right when you started, was get used to no. Right? Like get used to hearing no. People are going to say no a lot, like, and you have to get used to that. And I think the best way to get used to that is throw yourself on a phone and call a bunch of people for services, because all of them are going to say no. So it's like that's the best way to do it. And I think that like when you train yourself to just get used to these no's and get used to the fact that not everybody's going to say yes to you, that's when you start to find success. And that's the best part of the game. Like I see it, like I was talking about sports earlier. Like I came up playing sports my whole life. Part of why I love business is because it's so competitive, and there's you get knocked down 10 times and then you get one thing that picked you up to 11, right? Like things happen and you have to get used to that no. And I think that when I first started off, that no like took a lot to get through. Like that no like hurts you, right?
It's
like,
personal.
Yeah, it's personal, and you feel like, why are they saying no? Like I can really help them, and you feel all these certain ways, but you just got to realize that, sometimes you have to take the long route to figure things out. And hearing that no, it just you get used to that, and it doesn't matter anymore. And you stop worrying about that judgment of yes or no, and you start to just deliver. And then that's when you start to find these yeses come through, and really cool ones, So I think it's getting through those no's is the biggest part of entrepreneurship in general. And I think anything you do, right? Like music, whatever it is, people aren't going to like what you do, or people are going to like what you do. And you have to not care about the people that don't like what you do and just keep it moving. So that's huge.
Like I said, it didn't have to be a fire mic drop moment, but it was. So nice,
Yeah.
nice job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then keeping along with the advice thing, so like from your point of view, like if you could give us some advice to help grow our podcast. Now that's a very big question, and we can talk about it afterwards too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just like, what do you think from like looking at our stuff?
No, yeah.
Tell us we're trash.
No, never. I don't think anybody's trash that's doing their thing. Like it. Trash is having a dream and not acting on it, right? That's trash. If you have a dream and you're
It's
not
never
willing,
starting the page, never
Yeah.
actually getting the
Wow.
ball rolling, right?
yeah, like no, that's
Wow.
I mean, that's what trash is. Like, no offense to people out there that haven't said.
No, full offense.
Full offense.
Full offense.
but I think that like in terms of podcasting, it's a world that I'm like trying to wrap my head around a lot more, right? Because like it's such a different medium than we're used to. Like we're used to photo, we're used to video, and audio is something that like was a thing of the past that's now a thing of the future. So it's interesting. Like I think that there's a lot of cool content you can do with it, and I think that just like pulling video clips is a great way to like really deliver that message, and just showing like authenticity in the host, like what you guys do and who you guys are. Like that's a big part of pushing something. And like people gravitate towards people, right? Like that's why we have friendships, that's why we have love, that's why we have all these things. And if you're able to show like who's consistent, it makes the guests even more important, right? Like showing who's consistent. That's why Joe Rogan, Gary Vee, like all these guys, like the guests are so cool. Like I gravitate towards the guest podcast nowadays, and I used to not, right? You're used to just like running through, like, I mean, Rogan's a little different because he like always has a guest, but like when you're like listening to Gary's, you at some point you're looking forward to the guest, and I think that's because you enjoy him so much. So I think the hosts and like really just showing like who you guys are and why you guys do it, right? That's like what's important.
The
I think-
why, and that's what you're big about too with the company too, and you have a whole page. I just want
Exactly.
to note on your website about that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's important, and I think that's important with like anybody and everything. Like knowing your why, that's like a huge thing with business in general, like, or not just business, but whoever you are and what you do. Like you need to know why you're doing it, and you need to know what's gonna get you, your why is gonna get you there at the end of the day. So knowing why you do it and who you do it for, or whatever it is super important. So I think with you guys, it really just comes down to three things. It's about like being entertaining. It's about providing, some sort of education to people. And then it's just about, like being like that fun podcast that people want to come to. And like you did it with me, right? So like you can do it with other people too. So I think you guys are fine. It's just about cutting those clips and figuring out how you guys want to do it. But I think more video content, more clips, and you guys will be good. You guys are doing good.
Well, we appreciate that a
Yeah.
lot.
Good.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is a good stopping place just because it's around 45 minutes. But I want to say thank you for making the trip. We really appreciate it
Of
because,
thank
like Sully was our first guest we had not known, but now I feel like he's a bro. Like I feel like we know each other now, and it's like the whole like the why of this podcast. The why of this podcast is to create a network of people who want to succeed, and it doesn't matter what you do as long as you work hard and you're out there trying to do it. And it's not necessarily all young people. It's just like anybody, you know.
Mhm.
And like content creating is like our main thing. Like we want it to be content creators. And I think that through this, we're learning each time we have an episode, and it's just exciting. Like
Yeah.
I love this. So
Yeah, absolutely. And like each guest gives me more of an idea of like what I want to actually do after college and stuff like that. Because back in September when we had the first episode, we were kind of just sitting here like, what do we do with our lives? And then we have guests on from all aspects of the field, and it's amazing to see the opportunities that you can have. And go-to. So thank you for
Yeah,
giving
no.
us this opportunity. Think
No,
about
of
that.
course.
Thanks for coming, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal him after this. By
Yeah.
the way. He's coming on my
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, but before we're done, I want you to check out that camera right there.
All right.
Give them your Instagram. Give them everything you want where they can find you.
All right. So you guys can find me at Mike J. Anderson on Instagram. Cover2marketing.com if you're interested in the business in general. And yeah, that's like my two go-tos. Look up Mike Anderson entrepreneur on Google and whatnot, and yeah, do your thing. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course, thank
Of
you.
course.
Yeah, so thank you again, everybody, for watching or listening. And you better check this guy out because his Instagram's fire. Like, it's just a nice feed to look at, too.
Thank you, I appreciate
So-
It's
it.
aesthetically pleasing. I can attest to that.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then thank you again, Sully, for joining
Oh,
us
anytime,
once
guys.
again.
Thank you for having me on for the co-host. I really do appreciate it,
course.
and thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, of course.
Well, this is
It's-
the
it's
network in
connections.
action right here.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's
Yeah.
the point, right?
Yep.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, so thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Peace.
What do we always say? Now that's a
That's
pod.
a pod, baby.
That was fire.